Why success can still feel uncomfortable. Your career may have promoted you, but your self image hasn't accepted your promotion. Have you ever achieved something you worked really hard for and then felt strangely uncomfortable when you finally received it? You got the promotion. You were invited into senior meetings. People started asking you for your decisions. But instead of feeling powerful, you began thinking, am I really ready? What if I make a wrong decision? What if they realize that I am not as capable as they think? You may call it self doubt. You may even call it imposter syndrome. But sometimes something deeper is happening. Your role has changed, your responsibility has changed, but the way you see yourself has not changed yet. This is called identity gap. And by the end of the video, I will share three realistic ways to close it without pretending to be confident, becoming aggressive, or completely changing your personality. Hi everyone, I'm Sapna Menon, an image coach, and I help professionals build their image inside out. And in this channel, we don't just talk about professional tips. We help you change your self image so that the respect and value and authority comes to you naturally to transform who you are into that version of yourself who gets results effortlessly. Let me explain through one of my clients' story. Her name was Kavya. Kavya was hardworking, dependable, and excellent in problem solving. Whenever a project became difficult, people called her. She stayed late, fixed errors, supported her colleagues, and always delivered. Eventually, she was promoted to lead a team. Everyone believed that she absolutely deserved it. But Kavya did not feel like a leader. When a team member struggled, she completed the work herself. When a difficult conversation was required, she postponed it. When senior leaders asked for her recommendation, she would say, I'm not completely sure about this. Perhaps we could. There's a doubt in that language. Kavya had a title of a leadership, but internally, she still saw herself as a helpful employee who needed to prove her value through her work. Her career had moved forward. Her self image was still living in her previous role. Has it ever happened as a leader that you wanted your team to complete some work, but eventually you feel, let me just finish it myself? Maybe it becomes much more easier. It'll take a longer time to explain, get it done. So why not do it themselves? That is the identity gap. And here is what makes this gap difficult to notice. It often looks like dedication. You think you are being responsible because you do everything yourself. You think you are being respectful because you soften every opinion. You think you're being careful because you ask five people before making one decision. But underneath these behaviors may be that one silent belief: I have not yet earned it the right way. Maybe I have just occupied the position. The identity gap generally appears in three ways. The first is decision hesitation. You know that you need to be doing it, but you keep waiting for others' confirmation. For example, your team asks whether the deadline should be moved. You already know that the current deadline is unrealistic, but instead of deciding it yourself, you will say, let me check with the manager first. Sometimes checking is necessary, but sometimes it is that old identity looking for permission. The second signal is overworking. You take on more work because being busy makes you feel valuable. You rewrite your team members' presentation. You check every email. You correct every small mistakes. You tell yourself, it is faster if I do it myself. But leadership is not measured by how much you are personally carrying it. It is measured by how effectively you create direction for others to take up ownership and bring result through others. And the third signal is shrinking your communication. You begin with, I may be wrong, or this is just a small suggestion. I'm sorry, but I would like to add something here. Your idea may be valuable, but your language tells that the room is not taking it seriously. And that is exactly what I would come from the identity gap. So, how do you close this identity gap? not through fake confidence, not by forcing yourself on someone by being more louder, and certainly not by waking up tomorrow and behaving like completely a different person. There are three humane and realistic solutions. The first solution: separate discomfort from incapability. When a new role feels uncomfortable, do not immediately conclude that I am not ready for this. Am I capable? Or maybe it's just simple unfamiliarity. There's a difference. The first time you lead a difficult conversation, your heart may race. The first time you challenge a senior leadership, your voice may feel less steady. That discomfort does not automatically mean that you are doing something wrong. It may simply mean that your nervous system is adjusting to that new level of visibility and responsibility. Before an important moment, remind yourself this feels unfamiliar, but unfamiliarity does not mean unsafe. You do not need to eliminate discomfort. You need to stop allowing discomfort to make your decisions. Now, the next is your second solution: create one piece of leadership evidence every day. Your self image changes when your mind receives repeated evidence. So, do not try to transform yourself at once. Choose one small leadership action every day. Make one decision without seeking unnecessary approval, or delegate one task without taking it back. Express one clear recommendation in a meeting. Give one piece of feedback that speaks about your position. For example, instead of saying, I'm not very sure, maybe you can say, my recommendation is to move the launch by 1 week because testing is incomplete. Every time you act in alignment with your new roles, you teach your mind, this is who I am becoming. Let's get on to the third solution: update the way you measure your value. Kavya measured her value through personal efforts, how much she had completed, or how much problem did she actually solve, how late did she work. But as a leader, she needed a new measurement. Did her team become clearer? Did people take ownership? Were risks identified earlier? Did performance improve without her controlling every details? So here's what you have to ask yourself: am I proving that I can do everything? Or am I building a team that can succeed? This shift is important because many high performers try to enter leadership while still using employee level success measurements. They receive a new role but continue chasing validation through their old one. Kavya did not become different person overnight. She still cared deeply about her work. She was still supportive, but she stopped rescuing people immediately. She prepared one clear recommendation before senior meetings. She gave feedback earlier, and she began measuring success through her team's growth, not only through her own workload. Slowly, her self image caught up with her position. She was no longer felt like an employee pretending to be a leader. She began seeing herself as a leader who can still learn. And perhaps that is the most powerful identity you can adopt. Not that I must know everything, it's just that I belong to this level and I am allowed to grow with it. The identity gap is not always the evidence that you are failing. Sometimes it's an evidence you have outgrown an older version of yourself. So do not move backward simply because your next level feels unfamiliar. Appreciate the version of you that worked hard to bring you here. But do not ask the same version to lead you forever. So, which old professional identity are you ready to leave behind? Share it in the comment, and please do subscribe for more conversations on leadership, self image, executive presence, and inner authority. You do not need to feel completely ready before you begin showing up as a leader. Your growth has already prepared you to become that.